everybody. Welcome back to your favorite mapper podcast, The Mapper's Table. It's your favorite 3D object, favorite three-dimensional object, the cube, from the UK. I'm joined today with everyone's favorite mapper from the Republic of the Congo, Hannabite. Say hello, Hannabite.
What's up? It's your boy, Hannabite.
From the Republic of the Congo, nonetheless.
Yes.
And this episode, I was challenged by this mapper to say something nice about him, but that day shall have to wait. That is Paradoggy. Say hello, Paradoggy.
Hello, my guys. It's me, Paradoggy.
Wow.
And it's nice to have Kali say nothing bad about me today.
Yeah. That's about as good as we're going to get. And for our guest today, well, I don't think he needs any introduction other than his own introduction. So if you'd like to speak up.
I refuse to say it. You can't
we tried.
We
tried very hard.
I have a question before we start.
Oh.
You said this is like everyone's favorite mapping podcast. Is there another mapping podcast, or is this just like the winner by default?
Oh, it's a winner by default. I think currently there are no other mapper podcasts, but you know, as soon as this whole thing, like we're trend setting right now. So everyone else is gonna be on this train. They're gonna make their own podcast, and we're still gonna be the favorite one because we're just so awesome and not scuffed and amazing at our jobs. I think everyone can agree. But yeah,
So much confidence.
indeed. Well, we have a slightly different schedule for today's episode. We've dropped the map of the month because we wanted to focus a little bit more on questions this episode. But to start off with, I think we're going to talk about the topic of today, which Pishi shall say for us now.
Sure, yeah. So for this podcast, Paradoggy just asked me, do you have a couple topics we can talk about? And I was thinking, what's relevant in the mapping world that like I could say something about? And the only thing that came to mind was like, wait, I'm too old for this. I don't have anything like new to talk about. So that's what I wanted to talk about specifically. Being like, what it's like to be a mapper who has been around for too long and is completely, it feels like I'm out of touch because I'm not like, you know, in the dirt with all the other mappers at the same time. But I still know things about mapping. So do you guys experience anything like that? Do you guys feel like you're ever too old to be mapping now?
I think I kind of feel that topic because I'm quite an old guy in this community, coming from 2012, and mapping was like 2016. So I feel like someone that tries really hard to be part of the cool kids, you know, even though my opinions and stuff I like is pretty outdated sometimes. Like I'm really still into the Skystar stuff and Fungen and everything like that, and then when I look at current fucking maps, then I feel like I'm outdated and I don't know what to think, like with the current Avalon stuff and the mapping, tech mapping bullshit, then I feel a bit old as well.
You say you're old, but like I feel like I haven't actually heard your name until last few years. So maybe how long have you actually been like trying to rank maps? When was your first ranked map?
Like my first rank map is like from I think like 2019, but I was like actively like trying to push stuff since like 2017, 16. But like
I see.
I was like one of these guys that never really improved because I thought everyone was at fault.
Yeah, makes sense.
The best mindset ever.
So yeah, this is gonna date me. You know, everyone knows Lassa, the mapper.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I remember he was trying to rank a map, and like this was maybe 2015 when I was like a fresh BN, and he was really salty that all the BNs hated his map, but it was a really bad map. And I remember getting like hardcore flamed by him in Osu DMs because I was telling him his map was bad.
Oh no.
That's what Paradoggy just reminded me of.
That's what the funny thing is, like I would flame on Twitter back then as well. Like every BN is at fault, my maps are great and stuff like that. I would like talk shit to the BNG and NAT a lot back then on Twitter.
We all went through that phase, maybe. At least I did.
I didn't, for example. I don't think I ever had a phase like that when I was like, you know, I mean, I had like basically in my case when it came to like my first ranked map, I just kind of didn't really like try to chase it at all. Like I think that's kind of rooted in the fact that I'm kind of a mapping zoomer because I've been only mapping for like what 3 years now, like 2. I don't really remember, 3 I think. And I didn't really chase ranked. I just like mapped for fun. And at some point, I just thought to myself, I think I'm getting like kind of decent-ish, maybe rankable. Maybe the stuff I make is rankable. And yeah, I just like made one set, and that was pretty fucking bad. But like the next set I made got ranked, and this is like my very first ranked map nowadays. So I think that's actually something that I didn't have to deal with, and I'm really thankful for that because I don't think I'm being remembered by some, people from back then as an absolute dumbass, so which is nice.
Who here knows roughly exactly what their quote unquote mapping age is? Because there's a bot on Avalon. I'm still on that server, and it sort of you can type in some things and it will spit out a figure for you. And I was quite surprised. I feel like I've been in this community longer than I have been, but like I'm apparently only 2 years and 9 months old mapping wise, so
what does it
that's
mean
hardly
to have a
nothing
mapping
at all.
age?
I guess since your first ranked map or status map, but yeah, I mean, I ever since I started trying, I think it was only been like about 6 months ish since I started trying before I actually was able to rank anything. And before then, I had been playing just a little bit. So in terms of the whole scope of OCU, I did not have like a lot of things to go off reference by. Like even 2015, 2016, 2017, even 2018, like I was hardly there at all. So I feel like most of the mapping I've experienced, like in terms of things currently being uploaded and ranked, is basically almost all been the same stuff. I feel like even in 2019, like people like Neil Perry, which I think I would consider like the first, some of the first instances of like this new gen style that we see today. Like that's sort of like the first sighting of that sort of thing. That's been pretty much my first taste of like modern mapping. So anything before that, I don't really feel like I've been out of touch at all.
Interesting. See, it's so weird to think that because, like, I guess I grew up before tech mapping was even a thing. Like, you asked for my mapping age. I just looked it up. It's 8 years, 6 months, and 16 days since my first ranked map.
Yeah.
Like, that's so old.
That's really old,
Crazy.
yeah.
But yeah, it's like you say Neil Perry. I feel like that's like, you say he's like one of the starters, but I feel like, oh, that guy's relatively new just because that's where my mindset goes, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. How old are you, Anabite, mapping wise?
Me? Okay, so my first ranked map was on 20th December, if I remember correctly, in 2020. Yeah, no, it was 4th December 2020. So it's roughly 2 years and like 4 months, 3 months, something like that. So yeah, I'm, still mapping kid, basically. Mapping underage, I guess you could say.
Do you remember sort of what your first influences were when you were first mapping? Even like the difference between your first influences around the time you made your first rank map and just around the time you placed the first anything in the editor at all. I think that's a good distinction to make as well.
I mean, for me, it's like my first ever influence was my friend in high school because he's the one who showed me the editor. He was not good at mapping though, so that wasn't a really good person to take influence from. Then there's Grummed. I think he was like the first real influence I had because he just made things pretty. I liked how things looked, specifically Over the Flood. That was just like a beautiful map.
Classic map, still holds up in my opinion.
Definitely.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I think around the time like I do believe that in the user submitted questions we're gonna briefly talk about this, but just in terms of my like mapping career, like mentorship was like the only thing that got me fully into like being able to rank stuff. Without that, I don't think I ever would have been able to do it. So I can only really remember who I enjoyed right at the start of my mentorship, but around that time it was people like DTM9 Noe, sorry, and Kreutz, and I still love Noah maps a lot, but Kreutz I've gone off of quite a lot, and I've started to move a lot more into sort of like the 2014, 2015 style mapping. That's really where my heart lies now, which is sort of interesting, I guess, because as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't around for that period of mapping at all. Even though I did make my account in 2015, I like quit after the first day and then only came back later when someone else told me to play it. So my preference has gone right back to the past. Not, I suppose you could say, yeah.
I think like when it comes to me, like at the beginning I tried to map like myself, like learn by myself. I was like looking up to like people like Fanjin, and even though I didn't understand anything, I tried really hard to be like creative, even though I don't have any knowledge about mapping, which was probably the result of me mapping horrible stuff. But then for me it was also mentoring, but more private mentoring by Gits. Gits a bit of an older name as well. I think like 2016-17 era, like Chinese style mapper, and he would like help me stuff, and that's I think my first influence, and then just slowly the more modern it became, it moved into the Nova, like with Yukali, and then I think currently it's like Asilica. It's just like the influences change over and over because I want to try new stuff, but the very first beginning was always Gits and like other Chinese style mappers.
Mm. You totally reminded me also that the Noah's name is pronounced Nova. I'm such a fan. I should know that. Anyway,
Yes, I never knew. Wow.
Fanabite, how about
Oh
you?
yeah. Well, and I mean, it's kind of complicated in my case because I kind of remember the very first time I opened the editor. I even have the map, and it's basically like some random ass Polish song that's like not even timed properly. And at the time, I think what inspired me to like open up the editor was that I stumbled upon a Kreuz stream. So, you know, a common factor again. One day when he was mapping some stuff, and I was like, hey, this doesn't look that bad. So, you know, I just tried my best, then like forgot about it for like a few solid months. And then like I came back to it because I was playing, you know, Oath as usual, and I stumbled upon some maps that I really liked by this one guy, and his name was Atalanta. And yeah, basically this one guy just kind of, you know, made maps that played so nicely for me that I just kind of, you know, got into the thing. And it's also funny because I didn't really like, you know, get into OSU community that much back then. You know, being living in a country like, let's say, Poland, right? It's kind of a hermetic community. I don't know if you can say that, but we don't really, you know, consume too much foreign content. At least we didn't back then. So, you know, the resources were limited, and I didn't really have anyone to ask for stuff. And also, I was kind of scared of speaking English. That's like a completely different matter. But yeah, one day I just like, you know, joined Twitter, started following my favorite mappers, and I noticed that Atalanta posted a form for mentorship, basically, like, you know, private mentorship with him. And, you know, I just applied, and I was lucky because he just picked people who were in the EU time zone, which is quite hilarious how random that is, and how, you know, that single event kind of shaped my mapping. And yeah, it kind of started with Atalanta. There was also a bit of, what was his name? Nivo, yeah. Nivo, I was a farm player for quite a long time, and I really liked his maps back then. I kind of got out of that phase, and you know, I just kind of changed my inspo over and over and over. But I still I still love Atalanta maps. They're really, really nice. So that's kind of how it started.
I see. Interesting.
I'm thinking, do you feel like you guys, your first like exposure to maps influenced the way you map at all?
Yes.
It sort of sounded like that,
Yeah,
with like Hannibite saying like Atalanta is a main one. I'm thinking that sort of relates to the initial topic here of feeling outdated, because like all my initial inspirations, I guess you could say, were maps that I initially saw when I was like new to the game. And same goes for all of you. So just like as time goes on, except for Callie, because you're apparently influenced by 2015 maps despite not playing 2015 maps, but I feel like for most people that's how it is, and it's hard to really advance past that to some degree. It's like I have to like consciously adapt myself to be like, oh, this is how people make hard diffs now. Back then it was like way simpler and less complicated, etc. Have you guys experienced that sort of thing, or is that too much of an old person experience?
I think when it comes to that, the biggest problem is like what I feel like most old mappers I know have is the time investment. Like I feel like me personally, I had that same thing where it's like the stuff I played at the beginning is the stuff that I usually try out now, because I was like this RLC, Fungin, Happy 13 fanboy that played these maps like every day. So I feel like it also like inspired my mapping in some way. But I feel like if you, like you said, with the changing and like being up to date, you need to invest a lot of time these days to be up to date. And I feel like if you someone that's like very busy in this game, like you're a busy person, right? So I feel like you can't really put so much time into learning new things. I don't know. I feel like that's
Learning. Well, yeah, it's also like I feel like I've learned a lot of mapping stuff, so there is more to learn, but also I wanted to spend time elsewhere. I've spent like so many years just learning new mapping things, but at the same time, it's like old mapping things don't really expire. Like I can still make maps, and they're not going to be like outdated or completely outdated, at least.
There's always an audience.
Maybe they are. What do you guys think? Have you guys seen my maps recently?
Oh yeah, I don't.
I think I've seen some from 2022, but I must admit I don't look at a lot of maps anymore
Oh, I see.
like I used to. But yeah.
I don't know. I mean, when I look at your maps, I never had the feeling that you were like old like mapping. Like your maps had always like old influences. That's what I always get. But like, it's still like fresh, and like it doesn't age bad. That's what I would like think about your mapping, and even your current mapping. That there's always like this Pishifat style that is like the combination of older styles combined with like a bit modern, fresh like breeze of wind, which like makes them a bit timeless.
Interesting. Okay.
I've seen Scorpion Hill, and to me, this doesn't really look like an old map at all. If I am to say here anything, so I guess I don't really think like, as you've said, like some things still apply, and it's just, at least in my opinion, it's just a matter of adapting some things here and there. But basically, like I actually really like the Scorpion Hill map. It's really nice, kind of flows nicely and all this stuff. And yeah, like we can go in depth with stuff like visuals, but visually it holds up, and also gameplay wise it holds up. Like it's a good map. So yeah, as you said, I don't really feel like, I mean, you can probably, someone can become out of touch with community, but yeah, as you said, you just don't forget some things, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's very important because I don't know if you guys read the latest featured artist news post, but I need to make a map later this week on a live stream in one sitting. So I haven't actually made a map in a long time. Now that I think about it,
You advertising your live stream on our podcast.
I know all the exposure I'm gonna get for this podcast.
Don't worry, we link that stuff.
Yeah, I expect 10k viewers this stream, to be honest.
Can I say something about like your modern mapping? I think there's like one map that is always in my mind where I'm like thinking, like, how's this map in 2018? I feel like that's like extremely modern, which is like your mechanic heartbeat set.
That was 2018, really?
Yeah, that was 2018 December, like late 2018. I feel like that map alone just shows me how modern you are. Like actually, I think you don't sometimes appreciate yourself how modern your mapping is, which is kind of crazy, because I feel like your style is really fucking cool on that set especially, and it kind of like paves the wave of like modern, like it's not a western song, but it like goes in the direction of being a western song. But and I feel like people just slowly try to go to the same direction as kind of like your mapping.
Interesting. Yeah, I wouldn't even know. Like, I haven't seen what modern maps are like necessarily. I mean, of course I have, but I haven't like looked at them in depth, and I haven't looked at like enough to really expose myself to all the types of modern mapping. But it's interesting to hear that one like resembles what modern maps have formed into. I didn't even think about that.
I did actually happen to see something that I think maybe you've made recently. I'm not 100% sure, but you have a GD on a Wispy set, do you not?
Oh yeah, I made that.
Did you made that one recently?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. See, that really struck me as something that, see, if there was any map that I would think Pishy had a look at maps recently made and like made something similar to that would be the map that I thought would be it. That map looks like a 2023, 2022 map to me.
Yeah, that one's interesting actually, because I was just like, I don't basically never map electronic music like this, so I was just like, I'm really bored. I want to make fancy sliders, and so I did that. And apparently, some Scub Domino map did like the exact same thing. at some point, like in the second half of the entire map, there's a certain type of slider design I use, and someone was like, "Why do you just copy Scum Domino on this? It's so lame." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know that map existed." But that just shows I don't think I look at enough maps to. I feel like I'm very insular now with my mapping. I think that's the point I'm trying to make here.
Even me, like someone who doesn't have a lot of years or experience in mapping, like even I like often. I think the way I think about my own mapping is I split it in between like periods of improvement and just settling down. So if I really wanna, if I'm feeling like my mapping's getting a bit stale and I really want to start pushing the boat out, then I'll have like a 6-month period of just trying to do some of the craziest stuff I've ever done and try and really experiment. And then after a while, I'll make something that I'm really happy with, and then I'll settle down and maybe for the next 6 months I'll just make things out of what I already know.
Interesting.
So I think if like there's nothing else going on, I would like to go to the Twitter questions because there's a ton of them. That's fine. There's one question at Advanced that I really want to ask you because I'm also interested in it. And the question is by Istra. I think you know Istra, ABC. And his question was, what's your favorite zombies weapon in COD?
At COE, I met Istra, and when he introduced himself, I'm like, "Oh, Ice Tray." I don't know who that is, but cool. I never I can't like interpret his name from the way you say that somehow. It doesn't sound right. Anyway, I know who it is. Favorite zombies weapon.
I mean,
There's so many contexts.
I did hear your World at War guy.
See, okay, there's so many. I can't answer this question simply because there's no favorite weapon. But my favorite experience is running on the top floor in 5 and using the MPL as my speed weapon for that. So that's my answer. That'll make no sense to most people, but Istra, that's for you.
I'm sure Istra will be very happy.
I think let's get to the actual also questions now.
I mean, there's a ton of non-OC questions here. I think we should slice them.
First of all, Nightcore asks, what is the best map in the game and why is it Shadowmaker?
Shadowmaker is cool, actually. I like that map. Out of all my maps, that's like one of my coolest ones because I made that one like over the course of like a year. So all the sections are just very disjointed. And I don't know how obvious that is, but it feels like every time I would look back on it, I'd always stop the map because like, I hate this section. I don't want to do this anymore. And I'd look back on it a few months later, I'm like, that looks pretty cool. I'm going to keep going with this map.
That's new lore to me. I would have never thought that it was mapped like that.
It is. I think the coolest section there is the section with only reverse sliders because it's really stupid rhythm, but it somehow works. That's why it's the best map in the game. Just that one section.
I think that's an interesting thing actually. Because that's something I suffer with my own mapping is I'll make something and then maybe I'll get halfway done and I'll just be like, now I just want to rush the end and finish the map. I don't think a lot of mappers have a lot of patience to wait and make something quote unquote perfect in their own way. If that makes any sense.
I fully agree with that because most of my maps are made in like a day. This was the exception.
I mean, I kind of get the sentiment as well. Like, I have similar stuff happen to me in the past where I would like, map 30 seconds of a song, then like drop it, come back to it, let's say next week, and I think like, holy fuck, that's absolutely disgusting. But I would not delete it, and I would come back to that map, let's say, like, I don't know, a few months later, and then I'm like, actually, we can probably cook something.
Then, Pishy, where does your motivation then come from? Because you say that you map that stuff, like, in a day, but, like, you kind of need, like, a lot of motivation for that, and you're not, like, someone that maps every day, like, 100 maps a day, because you're someone that, like, ranks, like, one map, like, every 4 months. Like, where does the motivation...
What are you talking about now? Yeah. Back then, though, I was mapping all the time.
Oh, and what currently?
Not currently, no. But like back then, especially like right when the Mappers Guild started out, I was trying to like really carry that so it would become a thing that was like consistent. And so I would GD like everyone's map and like I was like, okay guys, the deadline's coming up. Who doesn't have a map ready? And there'd be like 5 people who are like, I just dropped my GD. Sorry, bro. I'm like, okay, I gotta make 5 GDs in 2 days. Let's go.
Oh, imagine FAs and MPGs that's dropping. Who wouldn't know?
This was all like 2018 time though, so very ancient by today's standards, I think.
Okay, next question. I think that's a question that all of us can say a bit about. What is your opinion on mentoring in general?
I've never properly done it. Like I was in the mentorship program for like 1 cycle, but I didn't really do proper mentorship because my mentor or my mentee didn't really want to do mentorship, and then I just gave up. So I don't really have much of an opinion on it. I have not experienced it properly.
I know a lot of people who are quite against the idea of mentorship because they feel that people should really focus on developing their own style. But I think as someone who has, I don't want to be self-indulgent or anything. I wouldn't necessarily say I have my own style, but I guess some people would consider the maps I make distinct. And someone who's been mentored by a lot of different people, I think that's a good thing to strive for, actually. Maybe getting mentored by one person can sort of turn you into a bit of a clone of them, potentially. Depends on how they mentor you, of course. But I was very adamant on the idea of being mentored by different people with different styles that I really liked, so it ended up culminating into something I would say is different from everyone I'd crossed paths with previously, I suppose.
I don't think there's a problem with like taking information from people directly, like mentorship probably does. It is just like, I guess it is a problem if someone guides you on how to place objects and this and this and this thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, having that direct one-on-one like education is probably just makes like learning how to map a lot faster too.
How about you, Para?
Since I'm like someone that is like so deep into the fucking mentorship cycling and mentorshipping, because I have like 20 plus mentees that are like help from the beginning, because I'm trying to like do like a project where I get a bunch of like first time mappers and tell them how to use the editor properly so they can like improve. I think the biggest problem I encountered with like people trying to mentor is the qualification of being able to mentor. I think people just don't really see that you actually need to be, an actual decent teacher to mentor people. You can't just sit there and hope that people will improve by just telling them things. And something that kind of annoyed me about like the also mentoring cycle is that people like have the ability to have like multiple mentees helping them out, but they just take like one or two person from their own friend cycle, which is a bit annoying. And some of these are like not really qualified as well to mentor. So that's like my only biggest problem. But in general, I think mentoring is a fantastic thing, and I think we need like more people like to do it, because mentoring to a level where people become more like, they can like work on their own, to get them on that level where they can discover their own style is, I think, the best thing you can do, and not enough people are doing it.
Yeah, you're like the mentorship guy, so I guess you are the person to ask about this, Para. How about you, Hannibal?
Well, I've got quite a history with mentoring and mentorship and all that stuff. I started out as a mentee, basically, maybe not from day one, but pretty much. And I've been doing a lot of mentoring, on and off in many different places, like, fucking Avalon. And also I've been doing mentoring in my own friend group and all that kind of stuff. And one thing that I've noticed is for someone to improve, you really gotta vibe with the person. At least that's what I think. Because I've, gone through countless fucking mentees at this point. Some of them have gone far and beyond what I can do even. And some of them are kind of, still in the same place where they were when they started out. And it's not like, the matter of not mapping, let's say. These people are still mapping, but they just kind of do not do stuff. I wouldn't say I'm the best teacher ever by any means, but I also think that, the most like crucial factor for me when it comes to mentoring is kind of like, you get a vibe. And also, another thing I've noticed is like mentorship in itself has started losing its value. It's kind of hard for me to like explain, but basically I've noticed some people like, are just like collecting mentors, like fucking infinity stones. And what ends up happening is like they have fucking, I don't know, 3 or 4 mentors from which they try to take, input all the time. But what ends up happening, like, let's say people have opinions, right? And one person might say one thing, then the other person might say like the complete opposite of that. And you're just kind of, let's say you're that mentee and you're kind of, left there wondering who the fuck is right. And yeah, especially I think that's kind of crucial. Like if you want to improve, it's probably best like just get something one-on-one. Having many mentees is like a cool idea, like a cool prospect, because you're creating silly little army of people, but in the end I'll still feel like getting only one person on which you will work with for like an extended period of time is the most productive and efficient.
Yeah.
And also it's kind of the most it's kind of respectful for both parties, because you're given the same amount of time how do you even say this? Like you're giving enough time to that person that you are mentoring, as well as you're receiving the correct amount of time from that mentor.
I think that's funny because the first time people found out about me having like a bunch of mentees, people were like telling me that I'm creating like a religion or something. I think that was a bit funny.
I mean, in my case, it was kind of like I wanted. Okay, I'll be real. When I first started mentoring, I just wanted a bunch of GD slaves. Uh, because I wanted someone to do my normals and hearts. So there's that. But it kind of went a different way. I mean, I still have, some people that I've helped, and they are also kind of keen to help me, but it didn't really go that way, and I'm kind of happy because most of the people whom I've mentored and I can say I'm proud of, they're like not really in my, let's say, religion. They're not really sharing my thoughts exactly. Like I've just given them a push. I would say, like told them a thing or two, but they kind of found their own views on mapping, which I think is probably the most important thing to me.
I suppose if we move on to the next question.
Okay, the next question is by Bassen Sorex. Thoughts on alternative proposals for BN applications, specifically those that prioritize mentorship into BN rather than making modders wing it? I think there's like something recently like that came out.
Yeah, this question was
Yes,
asked
it happens.
before the
Yeah.
recent thing.
Yeah,
Kind of interesting.
It's literally happening. I think it's actually really good though, because I think so much of what made OSU really exciting to me when I was like starting out was how variable things were in terms of like BN app stuff. Because I was like right when I started mapping, I was also trying to get into the BN, so it was very much coincided. And everything was changing. Like it started out with some voting system, and then went to some like I forgot what happened next. It was some mod score related thing that I completely forgot. But there were a lot of different things, and then eventually in like 2019, whenever the BN site was made, it landed on this application system. We've been using the same application system with some tweaks here and there for almost 4 years now. It's way too long. We got to switch it up. So this mentorship thing will be good. It was also attempted, I want to say like 2 years ago. I think it worked all right. I don't really follow the BNs who are added from that.
The thing with
Is this
Seto?
the Seto thing?
Yeah.
Ah.
Oh yeah, that was controversial. That.
Yeah, I was actually asked about that as I was a Seto mentee at the time, and I said no because I didn't think it was going to turn out well, and I like to think that experiment was like a precursor to this because if I remember correctly, everyone who got in via that method basically got kicked and they had to apply again, right?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think there was a lot of mixed opinions on that in terms of the consequences of having someone be mentored just by one person, which I didn't think of. It's kind of relating to the question we asked before, actually, because I think a lot of people feel that different members of NAT or BNs have there's potential to have very varying opinions on what should be acceptable. So I think this new system is pretty good because it does have, I believe it does have the potential to have someone who doesn't quite make the cut first time to be mentored by another person, I do believe. So yeah,
I'm not super
I
sure.
quite like this. I think that's the way the flowchart works. I'm not 100% sure, I suppose, but yeah.
There are 4. I don't know if this is public information, but now it is. There's 4 people who look like they're going to be mentoring from the NAT. So hopefully they get exposure to all 4 of them.
Yeah, I think that's public.
This is public, most probably.
The
I
job
think
is safe.
you just kind of pick those people through the forum, right? And yeah, they're all there listed.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Let's go to the next question. Common mistakes for new mappers. Real simple.
See, now this is getting to the territory of I don't know what mistakes new mappers make nowadays. I know what they made. I don't know. I know the mistakes from like 6 years ago.
It's the same, trust me.
It's the same. Oh,
Yeah.
well. First off, being dumb with how you accept feedback. That's a big one. Just not making. How do I say not making good maps in a way that's constructive? Because that's what it basically is.
Yeah, guys, don't make bad maps. That's a good one.
I gotta think about this one. Can we come back to this one actually?
Sure, we can go back later.
Let me write.
Let's see. What are these questions? Uh, what's the most impactful single object you've seen in a map? That's so
That object goes hard. That's crazy.
Can I answer that? Monstrous Aspire map, the fucking butterfly. I see it as one object.
That's not one object.
I know,
Come
but
on.
I kind of see it.
That's a whole ass film. That's a feature length film. That fucking thing.
I don't know. Like, how do you answer that?
I don't have an answer to that. I mentioned Grummed earlier. There's one slider that I remember that has influenced a few sliders that I've used, but that's it. And it's on some like graveyarded map that no one cares about. It's not influential to anyone but me, probably.
Yeah, I think that's a silly question.
I think the objective look at this question can be something like the very first object in Disco Prince.
Oh,
Because, you know,
probably, yeah.
it's probably the most impactful object that was ever placed.
The first object on the DS game.
Oh yeah, even further, yeah, true.
And let's just go back to the Mo video. The most impactful object is center of the screen circle.
Oh, I don't
Oh.
agree. I don't agree.
I remember that.
I think top left. Top left is
Top
best.
left. Okay.
I mean, I'd be inclined to agree with the center object, but the problem with that is I use that like at least like 20 times in every one of my maps, so it's no longer the single most impactful object, I suppose. But yeah, I'm a big center lover.
Oh god,
So yeah,
these questions.
Center stake.
these
Okay.
questions are epic. What about it? You should answer. You should
No,
answer
no, yeah,
Best Sprites question.
they're funny. That's why. Someone I saw asked for next Aspire. Yeah,
I was actually thinking about that already.
by Nagabi.
I feel like Aspire has kind of like run its course with Stable, because Stable isn't really being updated, and people want to break Stable more. And I know Peppy doesn't want to break Stable more because then it impacts the laser stuff. So I'm thinking, what happens is like, as soon as laser is in a state where mappers are comfortable using it, then we run Aspire in laser. So that could be years from now, though. So
I'm
sorry,
hyped for that though. If it's years, I'll wait for years. You heard it here first, everyone. Aspire 2040. Real.
That's a bit toxic.
No.
Anyway.
It could be before. It could be before. You never
Okay.
know.
I don't know what this question is. Henry is asking, can I revive Lemon?
Lemons is an app I made. Yes, please do it.
Okay.
It's just a
Oh.
graveyard map.
Oh god, that's a controversial question. Cringe DPs asks, what's your opinion on the lost of Riffy's BN status?
My opinion on Riffy losing BN status. So I've obviously read like Twitter drama on this, and people saying like, same with King Henry, like there's not going to be any more metal maps ranked and all that. I don't want to just rehash the Twitter drama, because I sort of agree with like the idea that a lot of people were saying where a lot of metal maps just aren't that interesting, and that's why they're not going to be ranked.
Oof.
But that's not necessarily related to Riffy BN status. I don't have much opinion on that. Sorry.
But for legal purposes, we have to skip this question, to be honest. Also, you've totally validated my opinion that metal maps suck, by the way. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
What's the next question?
Respite is asking, hello there.
Is there a question mark on the end?
Yes.
Hello? There's my answer. That's the best question mark hello I can give you.
Now I see. Next one is by Cindefusic. I don't know. These names are crazy. How did you find the background for laughing makes it worse?
I probably just Googled like backyard and scrolled for like 10 minutes. I don't actually know. I don't have my backgrounds kind of suck. Like everyone looks at these like fancy background websites. I just go and Google images and like pick random stuff. Like one of my maps was like an advertisement for water damaged couches, and it worked pretty well. So I'm like, okay, I'll go with that.
That's great.
I think that's the best way to find stuff. 'Cause a lot of art can feel a bit perfect. So if you want to capture the vibe of something like an advert or like a water damaged couch, I think Google Images is the one, personally.
Yeah. I also don't map a lot of stuff that would fit with like
Anime.
the anime aesthetic.
Yeah.
Oh, next question is, what's the most stressful time you ever had related to Osu?
The most stressful time I've ever had. This is like a hard-hitting question. Let me think about that. Wait.
It's deep.
The thing that comes to mind is not like the most stressful time, but it came to mind, so I'll say it. Back when I was making videos, mean comments would be like, owie, my heart, etc. But that's like, okay, you can deal with that. What sucks is reading a bad comment right before I have to like record the next script, because then I think about that comment while I'm recording, and it affects how I say things. And that sucked. I can't repeat what any of those comments are because they're all gone and really not that important at this point.
Yeah.
But in the moment, they were like, owie.
Mappers mental health, guys. It's important.
Exactly.
Mental health check, everyone.
We had that topic in a previous episode about mental health.
It's prevalent always. Mental health affects everything in life. Remember that, everyone. Take it seriously.
I will say my mapping mental health has greatly improved since I stopped making videos. Videos were like the worst time for that. Since then I've been like happy, proper happy. Crazy.
The recent video you did with Peppy, it looked
Okay,
really fun.
those don't count. Those are good.
Yeah,
I mean
that
mapping
was fun.
videos.
That was in Japan, right?
That was in Japan.
How's Japan, by the way? Like, is it fun?
I was a fake tourist in Japan, so it was very interesting. Like I was only hanging out with like Matrix, the mapper Matrix. He lives in Japan, so I was hanging out with him a bunch, and then I was hanging out with Peppy. So I was only with people who like live in Japan, and I got like half tourist experiences because they'd take us to some touristy places, but the real touristy experiences we kind of skipped over because I'm not too interested in them. It was also very improv, so like when we got there, we didn't have a place to stay. For reference, I went with Matthew, the mapper. And so we just arrived and we're like, okay, we'll have to figure out housing one day. But we didn't. The first night we just got drunk and slept on the floor. And that was good enough. It was very poorly planned trip. Would not recommend to anyone who likes having a proper vacation, but it was lots of fun.
So are you saying it added to the charm, it being poorly planned then?
Oh, definitely did.
Nice.
It is very memorable. Staying in a hotel would not be memorable.
Very true, very true.
Okay, so next question is by Yuki Pre. Does Pishifat still use Uwu faces when asking for mods?
I don't ask for mods, so it's hard to answer that. Every recent map I've had ranked, the BNs came to me, like for the last 2 to 3 years. So I really don't think about it. Oh wait, no, there was I had to ask Morgan about one, but other than that, I think it was like, yeah, Wafer and Starcastler just being like, time to rank another Pishifat map. Let's go.
The next question is by Stompy. What are your thoughts on small CS and big CS maps respectively?
How small and how big are we talking?
I would guess like really small and really big.
I generally, as a player, I hate small circles. I love big circles. As a mapper, it's the opposite. I love mapping small circles. I kind of hate mapping big circles.
Oh, are you a CS5 enjoyer?
CS5 is great, yes.
Let's go.
I'm thinking like CS6 plus or CS like 3 minus. Well, 3 is fine, like 2.5 minus.
Do you have any thoughts on the purpose of small and big circle size? Because in my head, I used to think big circles are for when you want to have the player to do bigger movements without punishing them as much, and smaller circles are just for making them be more precise and punishing them a bit more. But I think mappers like Cloyd have very distinct, and Muya as well, have very distinct thoughts on small circle size in terms of how they should be patterned. And Marash was telling me about it as well. Do you have any thoughts on the purpose of the individual circle sizes?
I mean, my thoughts sort of align with yours. Where in like, I made one CS0 map and I did like insane movements, but it's very playable because it's CS0. With small circles though, the nice thing about it as a mapper is like you can create patterns that you just otherwise would never be able to make with like normal size circles because you have so much more playfield to work with. And I really value that because it just like opens up the pattern repertoire so much more. But I also hate playing it, so I kind of don't do it.
The next question is by Skull Pascals, and he's asking, will you marry me?
Moment of truth.
I guess we have to end the podcast now. Sorry, guys.
Damn.
My condolences.
That's fucked up. Okay.
Our thoughts go out to Skull.
Yeah, Skull, we
Poor guy.
like you, Skull. Maybe next.
Salute, Squirrel.
Maybe next time. Let me see, what kind of stuff is here? It's basically always the same questions about like your favorite map and like what do you think of current mapping.
Oh, how about this one from Zenir? How much does using entire playfield actually matter?
Using the entire playfield. I mean,
Like, you know,
maps-
100% of the playfield.
I think it depends on what you're going for. I guess you don't need to use the entire playfield necessarily, as long as like the map works as a good map. Like you could just leave a corner empty and it'd be fine if the map is good. I think it doesn't matter as long as the map is good. It's also just harder to make a map while being limited from a part of the screen. And this person's probably thinking about like new mappers who don't use parts of the screen because they're just new and don't like using corners for whatever reason. But that's not a problem of like the playfield itself being used. That's more of a problem of being a bad mapper, in my opinion.
I feel like I have a good answer to this as well. Like a lot of the time, if you don't use all the parts of the playfield, your map will feel quote unquote cramped. And a lot of the time, mappers don't really want their map to feel cramped. However, I do firmly believe that everything in mapping, every object that you place, every feeling that you can convey can have a purpose. So if cramped is the vibe that you are wanting to go for, and that's what your map is built around, then by every means, not using every part of the playfield can certainly be a good thing. So that's how I'd probably think about that question.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't think you need to use every part of the playfield to make a good map at all.
Confirmed.
What else is there? By Sebas, gameplay versus visual representation. Is there a balance to these things, or is one more important than the other?
Here's where my old mapper, I guess, values really show here, because I think you guys tell me, has like the vibe of maps these days shifted more towards gameplay over visuals in the last few years?
I think there's more like visual like focus these days.
Oh, is there?
Or like concept focused rather than actual gameplay.
Interesting. Okay, maybe I do align. Maybe everything's come around full circle. I think visuals are pretty important, and that's why I try to prioritize visuals to a certain degree. But at the same time, you can't just like completely drop gameplay entirely. I like having, I guess, visuals that end up making patterns that lend to interesting gameplay. Like you have to have both, in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't really think that though. Like I think a map, if it has poorly designed visuals, it'll distract me from the gameplay too much. And therefore, if you have visuals of some kind that look nice or fit the vibe of the song, whatever, it'll be nice as a map overall.
I think visuals are very important as well. I think gameplay and visuals kind of go hand in hand a bit. Like, if you have something that's visually not really appealing and a bit, like, ugly, if I can say that, then I think gameplay-wise it can, like, for me at least, if I see something that doesn't look nice, then I feel like the playability for me kind of loses it as well. Because when I play, I always have, like, the map in my mind as well. Like, why is that so ugly? Like, why can't the map that differently? And then I kind of lose myself playing. And I think if you have nice visuals, then the playability goes up as well. But obviously, we have, like, extreme cases where also I'm interested. Like, what do you think of, like, extreme cases where, like, it's nothing but visuals, which is, like, your current crazy tech maps, where, like, playability is, like, completely out of the window?
They're maps that I can respect as a mapper, but no chance I'm playing those, because I just can't play them. I like being able to play the game, you know? So I think that's why, like, all my recent maps are, like, really easy, because I'm not playing as much and I'm just getting worse. So I end up making simpler stuff, easier to play stuff.
There's one last question by VP757. I'm trying to figure out what the question means, but I think it, in the end of the day, it means, do you see someone that could do your style of educational OSU videos? Or, like, do you see yourself doing it more in future?
As far as mapping goes, I think someone can do it, just no one wants to put in the effort to it, because, like, I don't know what people's thoughts are on creating OSU-related video content, but mapping is kind of a dead end in terms of, like, content creation, modern mindset, where people want to, like, make a living off of the content they make. You're not going to make a living off of mapping content. It's not possible. But if you're just really interested in mapping, you can do it. Having, like, someone who's so interested in mapping that they're willing to sacrifice so much time just to help other people in that way is not a common thing, I guess. Mo was doing it at the same time as me, so, like, obviously someone else can do it, but no one else is really trying it. I want people to try it, though. It'd be so cool. Like, that is how I want to stay in touch with the mapping community. I want to see people's opinions curated into these videos, where it's, like, not just a big wall of text on a map that's vetoing something. Instead, it's like someone saying, this is what happened. This is explaining map stuff.
But do you see yourself doing any more videos in future, or are you, like, done?
I don't see myself doing those kinds of videos. I mean, I do the laser videos. Those are educational in their own way. And I'll be doing some other things related to that featured artist announcement that I won't disclose here, but we'll see. I don't expect to do anything like what I did before, though.
I'm just saying, co-hosts, maybe in a few months' time or a few years, we could do, like, an offshoot series, you know, where we do some videos like that, maybe.
I mean, I was like, I announced it once on Twitter that I was thinking about doing, like, a video for, like, new mappers on, like, small tips and tricks, or, like, how to get into the editor and stuff like that. But I feel like the time to do that is, like, so limited. And one video is just not enough to like cover everything about mapping. And
Yeah,
I think finding someone to do that is really hard.
there are a lot of people who I've seen try to make a series of mapping videos, and they make one or two, and then they give up. So that's a really common thing, probably because it just takes so much time, and they're not anticipating how much time it makes.
Yeah, it happened to me as well. I did like one mapping video, but it was in Polish, and I just added English subtitles because I wanted to, there were like no good tutorials on mapping in Polish completely on YouTube. There was like one that was pretty specific, let's say. And I just made one video, and then I remembered like, holy fuck, this is exhausting to make. And it wasn't like even that complex. It was just like simple setting up stuff and shit. I mean, the video was probably alright, but yeah, I kind of agree on that sentiment that whenever you like make content and you have to, face potential criticisms, like for me at least, that is kind of, it's not really making me, wanna make more videos, let's say, especially when it comes to more subjective stuff, because you can always do stuff like how to set up a song, how to do this and this and this. So stuff like this works. Also, another thing is like, I don't know if you've seen this, guys, but like a few days ago, I think Val0108 made a video like that in Japanese, and it's a really nice thing to watch. I strongly recommend it. It's got a really nice vibe to it, let's say. But yeah,
I have not seen that, but that sounds very interesting. Okay.
it is very interesting. I can link it.
Yeah.
Shout out to
Okay.
Val.
There's one question which is like attached to a picture with real question mark. I can send this real quick in the guest
No,
room.
this is so stupid. Why are we sending?
What do you think about this picture? Is it real?
I mean, there's a picture. It's got to be real. What do you mean?
I don't know. That's a question. It's just real question mark.
Obviously, is my answer.
Obviously.
Oh god, this is gonna be cut out.
Real and true.
Let me see. Is there anything else?
I think Jess's question was good. What map do you think is your personal magnum opus?
Oh yeah.
Personal magnum opus. Let me look at my profile real quick. It's gonna be something recent. Okay, yeah, it's the Carrots Walk Home map. Just because I feel like it turned out really good and has personal meaning, and it's really long, and has a cool storyboard. I don't make storyboards often, but that one was a good one, and no
You
one's
have
played it.
No
What was
one's
that?
played it. Oh, I was saying, there you have it. There's
Yeah.
info. You say no one's played it?
I mean, it was ranked 2 years ago, and it has 20,000 plays, so people have played it, but not many people have played it.
One person 20,000 times.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
It's
That's
12
you.
minutes long though.
Oh, actually, you know what? 20,000 plays for a 12-minute long map is actually pretty good. I think how much is like the OLC marathon sitting at? Like 5K, 10K, something like that. I think more people need to play longer maps. When are long maps becoming more popular again? That's the question.
I don't think they're ever going to become more popular. We're consuming TikToks. We can't go back to long form
yeah.
content.
Maybe you need to give the PP committee a little note saying we need to buff length again. Then people will start playing it.
Yeah,
Right.
talking about TikToks.
I don't watch TikTok.
Also
Sorry, guys.
TikTok.
I've seen. I know what the content is. It's just like 0% background dim, cool RGBs, and playing a 5-star map with auto on sometimes. It's ridiculous. But
Dude, someone should start making Osu TikTok mapping tutorials.
No.
That would go hard.
But like on the worst songs ever with like the most horny background.
I feel like that would only work if you give like incorrect advice. That's the only.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. And it has to like have like titles like how to map like Sotax or something like that.
Is there that much like audience for Osu TikTok?
Yes, there's
So
like
yeah.
It's
There's
quite
like-
insane, actually.
millions
Okay,
of
but-
views. It's crazy.
Right, but the people watching that, do they play Osu, or is it just like people who look at random video because it's pretty colors and stuff?
I think it's random.
It's probably the latter, I
It's
think.
I think it's a bit of a mix. I think the majority don't necessarily know because there's a huge. I don't know if you know, but there's a huge like. I don't want to say problem. Like it's not a problem, but a lot of these Osu TikToks have like faked gameplay where they're just playing with
I'm aware.
relax. Yeah. So I don't think much of the community of people who watch these videos could actually tell that, or else they might pick up a fuss. But yeah.
It's quite hilarious as well, like how always the top comment will be shit like, how Android users unlock their phones. Haha. Fucking peak comedy.
Peak comedy, real.
And it's like almost under almost every single fucking video like this. It's wow.
It's just like Pishy. you see yourself like as a representative of like Osu, right? What do you think of like these kind of contents representing Osu with like the cringe TikTok stuff? Isn't it like kind of bad?
No, I don't think I'd consider myself a representative of Osu either. That's way too authoritative.
Yeah, it's
I
a
think
bit.
I'm just a mapper guy, and if people do whatever they want, I don't care. It will give Osu a weird impression, but Osu already has like a weird impression. It's always had a weird impression, so nothing's really changed there.
You know what? I'll take the TikTok stereotype over any other OC stereotype that we could.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah.
The steer away. I suppose that we're done. Wow.
Yeah. Do you have
Any final thoughts, anyone?
yeah? Do you have anything to like promote Pishifat? Anything?
Play Osu. I promote Osu.
Oh, and your stream.
My Osu, the stream's gonna be on Osu Live, so
Oh, I see.
Oh.
That's cool.
go over there, I guess.
Damn.
I don't have anything to promote now.
I have something to promote, guys. I'm uploading a map tomorrow, so be there or be square. Smile.
Okay, that's about it. Kamikube talking nonsense.
Yeah. We wrap it up.
Hey, that's fucked up.
Promoting
Oh,
maps that no one wants to play. So
Nice.
Well,
no, I'm just kidding.
I guess that's payback for all the shit I've given you in the last.
Oh
episode,
yeah,
so,
definitely.
yeah.
Definitely.
How about you? Any final words?
I just wanted to say it's really weird to like have a conversation with someone who we've like listened to for the past 2 years. It's quite surreal, honestly, for me.
Do I sound different, you think?
No, you sound the same, and that's like the worst part
Oh.
because it gets even more surreal.
Yes.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say I sound different because in the mapping videos I like really hyped up my voice and had more enthusiasm. But on this I'm just like I'm sitting here, very calm.
I feel like your voice
Very
on the videos are much higher, like the tone.
Yeah, they are.
Like I can sometimes like when I watch the videos, I could tell that you like try to make like a really emphasized
oh.
voice.
I'll finish the podcast talking just like that. Well, I guess we're done with the podcast now, right?
No,
Wow,
no.
yeah.
Yeah, that was
wow.
good.
Yeah.
This is your
Awesome.
TikTok voice, Pishy.
Is it my TikTok voice? I didn't know
it's
I
your
had a TikTok voice.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.